back to the question relative to Russell, he's a big part of this decision. And as soon as we know, obviously he'll know. But we can't exclude options yet until we see what the options are
for sure
in free agency and in the draft.
Coach, we're here 7:30 a.m. Friday, Super Bowl weekend. Hard-hitting questions first. Are you a Swiftie?
My Swiftie? Yeah, I'm a Swiftie. How can you not be?
Ooh.
I mean, we did this discussion the other night. We said, all right, let's really like try to dive in and say, who are these like 4 or 5 entertainers that were just like worldwide iconic? And you'd say Michael Jackson, and you'd say, I don't know if we put Prince in that category. We gave Madonna the nod. Taylor Swift certainly. And we were trying to be, and it wasn't bands, so it had to be just solo artists. And if you probably spent 30 seconds discussing, they probably didn't get to that first cut.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. She's impressive.
Because your daughter's kind of that age to be associated.
She is, and then I had a chance to meet Taylor Swift like years ago at an awards ceremony. I was presenting.
Who are you?
I was presenting. No. I was presenting a Kenny Chesney Award at a in Nashville, and she and Jason Aldean were receiving awards, and so.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, obviously super talented. I'm a Swiftie except for the 2 times a year we play the Chiefs.
There you go. Yeah.
So I'm not then.
I love that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
On another note, last night, Antonio Gates didn't get to the first ballot Hall of Fame nod. How did you feel about that?
It's always such a difficult topic. I think we put a lot into like first ballot. He's going to be in that hall, and his bust is going to be sitting there, and what he did for that position. And more than just getting into the Hall of Fame, he was one of those first that came a route from basketball. And I think, so he wasn't first in the party, but he's going to be in the party, and certainly a Hall of Fame player. I think they have the committee that has to vote has such a difficult job because there's so many deserving players, and then anytime they announce the Hall of Fame inductees, we immediately go to those that we feel like, and I don't want to use the word snub, but those that didn't make it, and so many of them are going to make it. Randy Gradishaw, took so long for him to get in as a Bronco, and yet he was just as elated and excited. And I think for Antonio, he's going to be in obviously sooner than later. But you can see the excitement for those that did get in. Right. I have a former player that played for me. We drafted Jari Evans, who his time's going to come as well. So it's exciting for those that got in. The good news is it's not like that's their only window, and but Gates is getting in.
Yeah. Well, I want to take it back to last season. You spoke to one of our reporters, Jared Bell. You made some news, some headlines. And The Athletic, though, with Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets. But recently, The Athletic wrote an article kind of exposing a little bit of that locker room culture. So you got to feel a little bit vindicated at this point. It seems like they're a little in shambles.
I understand the question. I don't feel that way. After that visit with Jared, it was like one of the first times I had to sit down, and I really felt bad. Like, man, that was too much. A lot of it for me was just in defense of our team and Russell.
Right.
I use this term. My mom used to say you can only get a pound of flesh from someone, and certainly we had seen Russell get that from the media, and our team get that. And so here it came, the topic came again about Russ couldn't do this. And I was like, wait a minute, there were a lot of other dirty hands. And I regret going a little too far. I mean, I do. And yet the motive behind it was just me reacting to the criticism they had gotten consistently over a period of time. So, I'm appreciative of how hard it is and how difficult it is to coach and put a program together.
Sure.
And, a day afterwards, I felt bad about that. But, yeah, it all worked out. And, look, we ended up playing them and losing to them. So, but we're week to week in our preparation when we're playing these teams. And it's emotional. And sometimes you make mistakes. I felt like I made a mistake. Too much.
Well, we all live and learn,
Yeah.
Now you're here talking to us.
I'm here.
We're having a great interview
Early morning.
so far.
Every one of you's got a Starbucks cup in front of you. I got a macchiato over here. I'm waiting for
That's my
first
latte, yeah.
latte. And I'm like needing my coffee. My nitro cold brew with salted caramel cold foam.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Right?
10 out of 10.
And
I knew I liked you.
Yes,
Oh my God,
yes,
with
yes,
the 11s too?
Yes, everything.
Coach. All right. Well, going off that, I know the 2023 season also came with some criticisms, but a lot to be proud of. So I'm curious how you've been digesting the
I think
season.
Look, there was a little bit of a roller coaster. The start was awful. We started 1-5, and then we were able to rebound, and that's hard to do. And we got ourselves back to not only 500, but really back to, or put ourselves in a playoff hunt. My experience with that in 16 years prior in New Orleans, I had two teams that started really slow, 0-4, and then in both cases we kind of climbed back into it. Right. But what happens is you expend so much energy doing that, then towards the finish, it's hard to it's hard to complete some of those games. And our league's difficult as it is, and if you dig yourself in a hole that deep, I think it's hard to have the season you want to have. So the off season comes, and I think there's always that perception that we don't pick up where we left off. We'll begin this process again. And I think in our league, it's like you flip the board and the puzzle starts completely over.
Yeah.
And what's our puzzle this year? This is our salary cap number. This is what we need. Here are the players that we're going to lose possibly to free agency or maybe not to free agency. These are the priorities for us. And then you begin putting the puzzle together again. And I think that happens with every team, including the teams that are playing in the Super Bowl.
Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Seems like the team's moving on from him. What do you think, or why do you think that just fit didn't really work out?
Well, I don't think we've made a final decision. And I say that honestly because we begin the draft meetings Monday.
Yeah.
So it's always funny when I read stories about this is what we're going to do in the
you
draft.
Don't know.
Like we're gonna trade up, and I'm like, I haven't looked at any of these college quarterbacks yet. So how's someone writing that story?
Right.
We begin that process this week. We've already begun the process of looking at free agency. And so back to that puzzle and back to the question relative to Russell, he's a big part of this decision. And as soon as we know, obviously he'll know. But we can't exclude options yet until we see what the options are
For sure.
in free agency and in the draft. And it's the same discussion I had with him when the season ended. We have a real good relationship. We'll communicate really well and clear. And I think the players just want to know. And so as soon as we know, he'll know.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire ones. I
Go
think
ahead.
I'm coming up on some time with you.
Come
All
on.
right. First and foremost, who do you think is the most unfairly hated on quarterback in the NFL right now?
Unfairly hated?
Yeah, like somebody who just constantly gets criticism and you're like, he's good though.
Well, look, I would say all these young guys that we early evaluate, Zach Wilson in New York, we've got early evaluations on him. It happens all the time with let me go around this division here. I think Garoppolo gets a lot of criticism, and he's someone that was just in this game not too long ago. Mm-hmm. I would say, let me just spin around. Carr in New Orleans, obviously, mm-hmm. There's either thumbs up or thumbs down, but he gets a lot of criticism. I
feel like there's so many, honestly, that get.
Well, it's fickle.
It's like, oh.
Here's the deal. I'm sure that frickin' Baker was one of them, but then all of a sudden,
yes.
You know what? The script flips, and then like all of us are like, well, we love Baker.
We love
now,
Baker, right?
Aren't we? Like, I'm looking for Baker. Like, where's he at? He's a free agent. You know, it's just funny how I do think this. I think that it's like finding the right actor in the right movie script, and if all of a sudden the script's right and the actor's correct, then you can have a good movie. If either of those two are off, then it can be just average to below average.
Right.
So in Baker's case, for instance, with Todd Bowles and their offense, and Canales and Tampa Bay, man, we saw like elements of what we were hoping to see when he was drafted.
Right.
And
Sure.
so our league has taught us that guys can come around. I go back, Trent Green, for instance, who had his best years in his 30s. Kurt Warner. There's a number of cases where, so I think we have to train ourselves to look for things that these guys do well and try to untrain ourselves to always point at what they don't do well. And I think that history has taught us that.
One last question for you. What makes Mahomes so great?
So many things. So I would say this with Patrick. We all see the arm strength. We see his ability to move. We see the off-schedule throws. I would say one thing that's very underrated or undervalued is his ability to multitask. If you guys ever listen to him mic'd up, and for each play there's 6 seconds, and he's pointing out who the mic is, and a guy comes in motion, he tells the running back, alert pressure here. Like all the information that he's processing at a real fast pace. And Drew did the same thing. Like, so I have this fancy car, but when I get in it, I just turn the radio on. I've not gotten to like 40 of the buttons that I should get to. But guys like Patrick, they're going to heat the back left seat if you need it. They're going to say, hey, are you good with your, you know, they're very comfortable with like 11, 12, 13 different things going on in a short period of time. And I'm not. I struggle with that. Like, so I'd say that ability to process quickly is one of the harder things for us to measure when we're looking at these guys. Because we can see the arm talent, we can see his accuracy. But, man, when they can multitask like that, I think that's something that is a huge strength of his.
Hey, sports fans, if you want to see more conversations with athletes and stars, check out these videos right here and be sure to subscribe for more from USA Today Sports.